Buying a home in Metro Vancouver can feel impossible to figure out. Everyone talks about getting pre-approved or writing an offer, but almost nobody actually explains what those mean or how the process really works. The truth is, there are a lot of moving parts. Lenders, lawyers, deposits, deadlines, inspections, taxes, and if you don't understand how it all fits together, one small mistake can cost you thousands of dollars. My name is Sardari. I'm a local realtor here in Metro Vancouver, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through the entire process of buying a home here in Metro Vancouver, step by step, from the very beginning all the way until you pick up your keys. By the end, you'll know exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to avoid the common mistakes that most home buyers make. The very first step to buying a home is setting your budget and getting pre-approved for a mortgage. Before you start looking at listings or visiting open houses, you need to know exactly what you can afford and how your finances will fit together. Buying a home isn't just about the purchase price, it's about everything that comes with it. The mortgage payments, taxes, insurance, and closing costs. And if you skip this step, you'll waste time looking at homes that might not be realistic for you. So let's start from the top. When a lender decides how much they can lend you, they mainly look at 4 different factors, which are your income, your debt, your credit score, and your down payment. These together tell them how much of a mortgage you are able to qualify for. They use something called a debt service ratio. That's a way of measuring how much of your income goes towards paying for housing and other debt. There are 2 types: gross debt service ratio and total debt service ratio. Your gross debt service ratio looks at how much of your income would go towards your monthly mortgage payment, property tax, heat, and half of any strata fees. Your total debt service ratio looks at all of that plus other debt payments like car loans, credit cards, and student debts. Lenders use these numbers to make sure you're not taking on too much debt. Now, even if you qualify for a large amount, that doesn't necessarily mean you should use the full approval. You want to choose a number that feels comfortable for you, not the maximum the lender allows. If the bank says you can afford, let's say $800,000, that doesn't mean it fits your lifestyle or your monthly comfort level. To get a clear picture, think about your full monthly costs, which are going to be mortgage, property tax, insurance, utilities, strata fees if it's a condo or townhouse, and general maintenance. For example, even if the mortgage is $3,000 a month, property taxes can easily add a few $100s. Insurance might be around another $100, and if it's a strata property, the monthly fee could be $200 to $500. That means your actual cost of owning might be closer to $3,700 or even $4,000. That's why it's important to build your budget carefully. Now, let's talk about your down payment. This is the amount of money you'll pay upfront towards the purchase. It directly affects how much money you're able to borrow from the bank. Here's how it works in Canada. If the home price is under $500,000, the minimum down payment is going to be 5%. If the home is between $500,000 and $999,000, you'll pay 5% on the first $500,000 and then 10% on the remainder. If the home is $1 million or more, you need at least 20% down. Let's say you're buying a home for $700,000. 5% of the first $500,000 is $25,000, and then 10% of the remaining $200,000 is $20,000. That means your minimum down payment would be $45,000. That's how the calculation works. Now, where can that money come from? It can come from your savings, a gift from immediate family, your RRSP using the Home Buyers Plan, or your First Time Home Buyers Account, or FHSA. If you use your RRSP, you can take out $35,000 tax-free, but you'll need to pay it back within 15 years. If you have a partner buying with you, they can also withdraw up to $35,000, which doubles the amount. Besides your down payment, you'll also need money for something called closing costs. These are all the extra costs that happen at the end of the purchase. They include legal fees, land title registration, the property tax, appraisal fees, and home inspection. Depending on the property, this can add up to 2 or 3% onto the home price, so make sure you have that saved on top of your down payment. Property transfer tax is the biggest closing cost in BC. It's 1% on the first $200,000, 2% up to $2 million, and 3% for anything above that. If you're a first-time buyer and the property is below the qualifying limit, you do not have to pay property transfer taxes at all. But the exemption only applies if you meet specific requirements, so check that before making an offer. Now that you know how much you need for a down payment and closing costs, let's talk about getting pre-approved. Getting pre-approved means a lender has reviewed your financial documents and confirmed that they're willing to lend you a certain amount. You can go through a bank or a mortgage broker. A bank can only offer their own products, while a mortgage broker works with multiple lenders and can shop around for the best rate or approval flexibility. To get pre-approved, you'll need to provide some documents. Typically, you'll need a piece of photo ID, a job letter from your employer, your most recent pay stubs, and your last 2 years of tax documents. You'll also need bank statements showing where your down payment money is going to come from. The lender will check your credit score, review your employment and savings, and confirm that everything actually lines up. A strong credit score shows you've handled debt responsibly and makes approval much easier and quicker. If your credit score is low, the lender might ask for a larger down payment or for a cosigner. A pre-approval usually lasts between 90 to 120 days. During that time, the lender locks in your interest rate. If rates go up while you're shopping, you're protected, and if rates go down, they will typically give you the lower one. Keep in mind, a pre-approval is not the same as a pre-qualification. A pre-qualification is just a quick online estimate or in-person estimate based on what you say. A pre-approval means the lender has actually checked your documents and verified the numbers. It's much more reliable, and once you're pre-approved, it's important to keep your financial situation stable. Don't switch jobs, don't move large amounts of money between accounts, don't take on new loans or buy a new car. Even a small change can affect your approval and delay your purchase. By this point, you should know exactly how much you can afford, how your down payment will be structured, and what your closing costs will look like. You'll also have a pre-approval letter in hand from your lender. That letter is what sellers look for when they want proof that a buyer is qualified. Once that's done, you're ready to start looking at homes. Now that you're pre-approved and you know your budget, it's time to start looking at homes. This is where the process starts to feel real. The first thing I recommend is to work with a realtor. When you're buying a home, hiring a realtor costs you nothing. The seller pays their commission. You get professional guidance, someone to manage paperwork, negotiate on your behalf, and make sure you don't miss anything that could cost you money later. It's one of the few parts of this process where expert help is free for you, so just use it. Once you've decided to work with a realtor, the first step is to set up a clear search plan. That means choosing your preferred areas, property types, and must-have features. Start with your location. Think about your commute, where you spend your time, and what kind of lifestyle you want. If you work downtown, being close to SkyTrain stations might matter way more than someone who doesn't. But if you work from home, maybe more square footage or a quiet area is the priority. Next, decide what type of property makes sense for your situation. Condos, townhomes, and detached houses all have very different costs and responsibilities. A condo usually has a lower price point but comes with monthly strata fees. A townhouse gives you more space and privacy but still has shared costs and rules. A detached home gives you full control, but you're responsible for all maintenance and repairs. Once you've narrowed that down, it's time to understand how to read listings properly. Most listings show key details at the top: the address, list price, numbers of bedrooms and bathrooms, and the square footage. Below that, you'll see the year built, the strata fee if it's a condo or townhouse, and the days on market. Here's what each of those mean. The year built tells you how new or old the home is, which helps you estimate future maintenance costs. The strata fee is the monthly fee you pay to the building or complex. It covers things like cleaning garbage, collection, landscaping, insurance for the common areas, and long-term maintenance. The days on market shows how long the home has been listed for sale. A property sitting for 60 days might mean the price is high or there's something buyers are unsure about. When you see the floor area, remember the square footage can be measured differently depending on how it's reported. For condos, it's usually the inside livable space. For detached houses, it might include multiple levels or even unfinished areas like the basement. The photos and listings are helpful but not always accurate. Wide-angle lenses can make rooms look bigger, and good lighting can hide flaws. Always plan to see a home in person before making any decision. Now I know that one's an obvious one. Once you've chosen the neighborhood you're interested in, start visiting homes that catch your attention. You can do this in two ways. Your realtor can book a private showing just for you, or you can attend open houses if they're available. Private showings are scheduled appointments where only you and your realtor visit the property at whatever time is convenient for you. They're quieter and give you more time to ask questions, take measurements, and really imagine yourself living there. Open houses are usually held on weekends. They're open to anyone who wants to stop by and see the property. You can walk through multiple properties in one day and get a feel for what's available in your price range. If you go to open houses without your agent, always let the listing agent know that you're already working with a realtor. That way, communication stays clear and professional and trackable. When you go to a showing or an open house, bring your phone for photos and notes, look for water stains on the ceiling, check the windows for condensation, open closets to see how much storage there is, and listen for noise from nearby traffic or neighbors. If it's a condo, ask about parking, storage, and what floor it's on. If it's a townhouse or detached house, look outside for cracks in the driveway, drainage issues, or signs of settling near the foundation. Don't be afraid to ask the listing agent simple questions, such as when was the roof replaced, how old are the appliances, has there been any water damage or major repairs done. These small details can help you spot red flags early. After seeing a few homes, you'll start to understand the market of that local area. You'll notice which areas give you more value for your money and which properties are priced too high for what they offer. Once you've found a home that checks your boxes and feels right, it's time to move forward and write an offer. Once you've found the home you want to buy, it's time to write an offer. This is where everything starts to get real. An offer is a legal document called a contract of purchase and sale. It's the written agreement that explains how much you're offering, how you'll pay for it, when the transfer happens, and what conditions need to be met before it becomes official. If the seller accepts your offer, that contract becomes legally binding for both sides. Your realtor will fill this out for you, but you need to understand what every section means before you sign it blindly. The first thing on the offer is the purchase price. That's the amount you're willing to pay for the property. You and your agent will base that number on comparable sales, the property's condition, and how long it's been on the market. If homes nearby have sold for $700,000 and this one's listed at $750,000, your realtor should show you those sales so you can decide what makes sense for that particular property. Next is a deposit. The deposit is a sign of good faith that shows the seller you're serious. It's usually between 5 to 10% of the purchase price, but that can change depending on the situation. The deposit isn't given right when you write the offer. It's paid after you've finished all your due diligence and officially remove your conditions, which I'll explain in a second. When you pay it, the money is held safely in the buyer's brokerage's trust account and not by the seller. It stays there until the deal completes and then goes towards your down payment. You'll also need to choose your completion and possession dates. Completion is the day when the payment and ownership actually transfer to your name. Here's how that works in simple terms. On completion day, your lender sends the mortgage funds to your lawyer then sends the full payment to the seller's lawyer. Once the land title office records the property under your name, ownership officially changes hands. That's what people mean when they say the sale has closed or closing. It simply means the payment has been made and the home is now legally yours. Possession is the day you get your keys and you can actually move into the property. It usually happens a day after completion to give lawyers time to confirm all payments have been done. Next is inclusions. This is where you list what's included in the sale. Appliances, blinds, light fixtures, built-in shelves are usually included automatically. If you want something specific like a mounted TV, patio furniture, or curtains, it can be written into the contract. If it's not written, it's not guaranteed to stay. Now, let's talk about something called subjects, also known as conditions. This is one of the most important parts of your offer. Subjects are specific conditions that must be satisfied before a deal becomes final. They protect you as the buyer and give you time to confirm that everything about the property and your financing is correct and in order. Think of it like a checklist you need to complete before officially committing to buy. Every subject you include will have a deadline, called the subject removal date. This is the day where you need to either remove your subjects, meaning you're satisfied and ready to go forward, or cancel the deal if something doesn't work out. During that time, the property is conditionally sold to you. The seller can't sell it to anyone else, but if you don't remove your subjects by the deadline, the offer expires automatically and the property is back on the open market. Now that you know what subjects are, let's go through the most common ones you'll see in offers. The first and most important one is financing. This condition means your offer depends on your lender approving both you and the property. Even though you already have a pre-approval, the lender still needs to make sure that this specific home qualifies. They'll order an appraisal to confirm the home is worth what you're actually paying, and if it appraises lower, the lender might reduce how much they're willing to lend, and you'd need to make up the difference with a larger down payment. This subject gives you time to finalize everything before you're legally locked in. The second common subject is home inspection. This gives you the right to hire a professional home inspector to examine the property. They'll check the roof, foundation, electrical, plumbing, insulation, and overall structure. After the inspection, you'll get a detailed report explaining what's in good condition and what might need repairs or replacement. If the inspector finds something serious, like water damage, mold, or structural problems, you can either renegotiate, ask the seller to fix it, or walk away completely without penalties. The next common subject is property disclosure statements, often called PDS. This is a form the seller fills out to share what they know about the property. It covers questions like whether there's been water damage, if the home's being rented, or if there are any issues with the foundation, plumbing, or electrical system. It's not a guarantee that everything's perfect, but it helps you see if there's anything unusual you should investigate further. If you're buying a condo or a townhouse, you'll also include a strata document subject. This is one of the most important parts of buying a strata property. It gives you time to go through all the key documents provided by the strata corporation, which is basically the building. The most important documents are the Form B, the depreciation report, and the meeting minutes. The Form B is a summary of the building's financial position. It shows how much money the strata has in its savings and whether there are any upcoming fees or special levies. A special levy is when the building doesn't have enough money in savings to cover a large repair, so every owner must pay a share of the cost depending on their unit allocation. For example, if the building needs a roof and it costs $400,000 and the strata doesn't have enough saved, they might issue a special levy. Each owner pays a certain amount based on the size of their unit. The strata savings are kept in something called a contingency reserve fund, also known as the CRF. That's the building's emergency savings account for repairs and maintenance. A healthy contingency reserve fund means the building is financially stable and less likely to surprise owners with extra costs later. The depreciation report outlines when major components like roofs, windows, and elevators will need replacement. It gives you an idea of what kind of expenses might come up in the next few years. The meeting minutes record what's been discussed in recent strata meetings. You can see if there have been complaints, upcoming projects, or unresolved issues that might affect you as the future owner. If you're buying a detached home, you'll usually have a title search subject instead. That gives you time to review the title for any legal restrictions or surprises. The title shows who owns the property and whether there are registered charges like easements or liens. An easement means another person or company has a right to use part of the property. For example, a shared driveway or an underground utility line. In condos and stratas, you will definitely have that because it's a building. A lien means there's an unpaid debt attached to the property that must be cleared before it can transfer to you. Your realtor will pull the title search and explain anything unusual that comes up. Each of these subjects has to be satisfied before you remove them. Once everything checks out, you'll sign a document called a subject removal addendum, confirming that you're satisfied and ready to move forward. At this point, your offer becomes firm. You'll then submit your deposit to your realtor's office, and that deposit officially locks in the price. If you decide not to remove subjects because something didn't work out or you weren't satisfied, maybe financing didn't go through or the inspection uncovered major issues, you can back out of the deal without any penalties as long as you're still within your subject removal period. Now, let's talk about what happens right after your offer is sent to the seller. Once the agent submits it, the seller can do one of three things. They can accept it exactly as written, they can reject it completely, or they can send back a counteroffer, which means they change parts of your offer, like the price or dates, and ask if you agree to the new terms. If they counter, you can either accept, reject, or counter back with your own changes. This back and forth is the negotiation process for a home. It continues until both sides agree or one side decides to walk away. Once your offer is accepted, congratulations, you now have an accepted offer, but it's still conditional on your subjects. Now it's time to go through those subjects one by one to make sure everything checks out before you finalize your purchase. That's what we'll cover next. But before we move on to step 4, if you're finding this helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you want personalized help with your own purchase, you can book a call with me using the link in the description or the information on screen now. Once your offer is accepted, you enter what's called the subject removal period. This is your window to do all the behind the scenes work, finalizing your mortgage, booking your inspection, and reviewing your documents, and everything you need to confirm before officially committing to the home. Your offer is now conditionally accepted. That means the seller can't sell to anyone else, but the deal isn't final yet. It only becomes official once you've finished your due diligence and chosen to remove your subjects, like we discussed. This period is usually 7 to 14 days, but it can vary depending on what you and the seller agreed on in the contract. The best way to think about this stage is like a checklist. Each subject represents a task that needs to be completed before you can move forward. Your realtor's job now is to help coordinate all of it. Make sure your financing is moving, your inspection is booked, and the documents are reviewed on time. Here's what typically happens during this time. You'll start by finalizing your financing. Your mortgage broker or bank will now review all the documents related to the home itself and usually order an appraisal. The appraiser visits the property or uses recent comparable sales to confirm the value online. If everything lines up with your purchase price, your lender gives you the final approval. Next, you'll complete your home inspection. Your home inspector goes through the property in detail, checking structure, roof, plumbing, electrical, and anything that could lead to costly repairs. They'll send you a written report outlining their findings, often the same day. You and your realtor will go over that report to decide if anything serious is found that needs to be addressed or renegotiated. If you're buying a condo or townhouse, this is when you'll review the strata documents. You'll want to confirm the building's finances are healthy and that there's any upcoming special levies and that there are no major issues discussed in the meeting minutes. Your realtor will also review the title search to ensure there are no liens or restrictions you didn't know about. During this stage, your realtor will keep everyone in sync: the lender, the inspector, the listing agent, and you. If anything takes longer than expected, they'll request a subject extension so you have more time to finish your checks. Both sides have to agree to an extension in writing, and once you've completed everything and you're confident about moving forward, it's time to remove your subjects. This is done with a document called the Subject Removal Addendum. You'll initial beside each condition to confirm that you're satisfied and ready to make the purchase. Once you sign that, the deal becomes unconditional, meaning it's legally binding for both sides. That's also when you'll pay your deposit, which is held in your brokerage's trust account until completion. From this point forward, you're officially locked into a contract. The home is yours and neither side can back out without serious legal consequences. Now it's time to prepare for closing, and that's exactly what happens next. Once you've removed your subjects and paid your deposit, your offer becomes firm. That means the deal is now legally binding for both you and the seller. You've bought the home, but the deal can still fall apart, so the process is still not done. And the next stage is preparing for completion and possession. From this point on, most of the work shifts to your lawyer or notary. Every home in British Columbia has to go through one of those. Their job is to handle all the legal and financial parts of the transaction. They'll make sure the title transfers properly, all money moves to the right places, and every document is signed properly. Here's what happens behind the scenes once your deal is now firm. Your realtor will send the purchase documents to your lawyer and your lender. Your lender then prepares the official mortgage instructions. This is a detailed document that tells your lawyer exactly how the funds will be sent to them on completion day. Your lawyer will also reach out to the seller's lawyer to coordinate the legal paperwork required. A week before completion, your lawyer will contact you to schedule a meeting. At that meeting, they'll go through all the legal forms and have you sign everything that's required to officially transfer the property into your name. You'll also review what's called the Statement of Adjustments. The Statement of Adjustments is a simple breakdown of who owes what. It accounts for things like property taxes, strata fees, or utilities that have been prepaid by the seller. For example, if the seller already paid property taxes for the full year, but you take ownership halfway through, you will have to reimburse them for the months you'll be living there. It works the same way if they owe you for any unpaid fees. Everything is balanced, so each side only pays for their share. Your lawyer will also make sure that the seller has clear title, meaning there are no debts, liens, or other claims on the property. If there are any, they'll make sure those are paid off before the title transfers to you. Once everything is confirmed, your lawyer will tell your lender exactly how much to send for your mortgage funds. You'll also be told how much you need to bring in to cover the remainder of your down payment, your legal fees, and the closing costs like property transfer tax. They'll give you the final number so you know exactly how much to prepare. While your lawyer and lender handle the legal side, there are a few things you'll need to do during this period too. First, start setting up your home insurance. Your lender will probably require proof of insurance before they release the mortgage funds. Your insurance policy should start on your completion date, the day ownership transfers to you. Next, arrange your moving logistics. Book your movers early since many companies get fully booked at the end of the month. If you're buying a condo, you may also need to reserve an elevator or pay a small move-in deposit to the strata. Your realtor can help you confirm these details with the building. You'll also want to contact utility providers like BC Hydro, FortisBC, and your internet company to schedule the transfer of accounts into your name starting on possession day itself. A few days before completion, your realtor will arrange a final walkthrough. This is a quick visit to make sure the home is in the same condition as when you first saw it. Check that all appliances are still there, nothing has been damaged, and the property is clean and ready for you to move in. If you notice any major issues, your realtor can contact the listing agent before completion to address them. Once you've signed everything with your lawyer, your funds are ready, and your insurance is in place, you're set for completion day. This is when everything becomes official, and that's exactly what we will cover next. Everything you've done so far has been leading up to this point, completion and possession. This is when the home officially becomes yours and you finally get the keys. Completion day is the official handover between you and the seller. You don't need to be anywhere in person for this. Your lawyer and lender handle it all. Behind the scenes, your mortgage funds are sent from the bank to your lawyer, and your lawyer transfers the total payment to the seller's lawyer. Once that's done, the title is registered under your name, and you're now the official legal owner of the property. You'll usually get a quick message or call from your lawyer or realtor confirming that completion is now done. The next day is possession day, which is when you actually get the keys and can move in. Your realtor will meet you at the property, hand you the keys, and do a quick walkthrough together. That walkthrough is important. You're checking that everything is exactly how it was when you bought it. Turn on the lights, test the appliances, and make sure nothing's missing or damaged. It's also the perfect time to take a few pictures of the condition of the home, just in case you ever need proof later for any reason. If you notice something serious, like an appliance that's been removed or new damage that wasn't there before, tell your realtor right away. They'll contact the listing agent to get it resolved. But in most cases, the home will look exactly the same, and you'll be good to go right from there. Once you've confirmed everything's in order, take a quick step before settling in. Record your utility meter readings, that's your hydro, gas, and water, so you're only billed for your usage. Replace the locks or reprogram the smart lock codes so only you have access. Test your smoke detector and double check that your home insurance is active starting from completion day. And that's the full process of buying a home in Metro Vancouver. From setting your budget to finally getting the keys to your home. Now you understand exactly how it all works from start to finish. Buying a home can feel complicated, but once you know the steps, it becomes a clear and structured process. If you follow everything we covered here, you'll be able to move through it with confidence and avoid the mistakes that cost most buyers time and money. You can subscribe to the channel here or watch another video here.